Hi, everyone. Today for math, we are going to be doing some practice with subtraction problems. The last 2 days, we've done work with adding 3-digit numbers. Today, we're going to look at doing some subtracting. So, if you could please take out your math books, and we are going to look on page 339. We have some word problems here that we are going to practice. And we are going to be subtracting in these problems instead of adding like we did the last couple of days. Okay? So if we need to make a math mountain, we'll make a math mountain. But I'm going to tell you we are going to subtract. So we're going to figure out what numbers we're going to subtract from each other. So let's take a look at the first problem on page 339. Says a teacher buys 200 erasers for his students. He gives 152 of them away. How many erasers does he have left now? So the story is talking about subtracting of erasers. He bought some erasers and he gave some of them away. And we want to know how many he has left over. Okay? So, let's think about how many erasers did the teacher start with? He started with 200. So I'm going to put 200 on top. Okay? And he gave away 152 of them. Okay? We want to know how many he has left. So we're going to subtract in this problem. All right? So let's take a look at our ones. Okay? Can I subtract? So I think about that question. Do I have enough? Do I have more on top or more on the floor? More on the floor. So I have to go next door to get more. But I have a 0 up there again. There's more on the floor, so I have to go all the way over to the hundreds place to start. Okay? So we're going to go to the 2, and then I'm going to cross out the 2. The 2 becomes a 1. Now I'm going to take those 10 tens, put it with this 0, and the 0 is a 10. Now I have some tens. I can take 1 away. And the 10 becomes a 9. And this 0 becomes a 10. Now I can subtract. Okay? So let's subtract the ones. 10 minus 2. 10 minus 2 gives me 8. 9 minus 5 is 4, and 1 minus 1 is 0. And when I have a 0 at the beginning of the number, I don't need to put that in the answer. Okay? So my answer is 48 erasers. Okay? All right, good job. All right, let's take a look at problem number 2. Again, stop the video if you need to. Okay, so let's read number 2. It says the school cafeteria has 500 apples. Some of them are served with lunch. After lunch, there are 239 apples left. How many apples does the cafeteria serve? So the cafeteria starts with a certain number of apples. Okay, and we're going to serve some of them, and then they have some left. Okay, so they started with how many apples? What number is going to go on the top? 500. They started with 500 apples. Okay, we're going to subtract. They served some of them at lunch, and that leaves me with 239. Okay, so we want to know how many they served at lunch. So I need to subtract what we had left, which was 239. All right, let's take a look. I have a 0 in the ones and the tens place. I know I'm not going to have enough. The numbers on the bottom are too big. So I'm going to have to go all the way to the hundreds place. So I go to the 5. The 5 becomes a 4. This 0 becomes a 10. Now this 10 becomes a 9. And the ones becomes a 10. 10 minus 9 gives me 1. 9 minus 3 is 6. And 4 minus 2 is 2. So we have 261 apples. That's how many were served at lunch. Okay, so when you have a 0 in the ones place and the tens, you have to go all the way over to the hundreds. Okay, there's not enough here in the next door neighbor, so we have to go all the way over to the next house. Okay, all right, let's try number 3. At the Music Megastore, there are 600 guitars for sale at the beginning of the month. At the end of the month, there are 359 guitars. How many guitars are sold? Okay, so the story is talking about guitars. They had 600 guitars at the beginning, and they sold some guitars throughout the month, and they have 359 left. We want to know how many were sold during the month. So they started with 600. Now I'm going to take away, put this down a little bit further, give myself a little more room. I'm going to take away what they had left. And the problem said that they had 359 left. When I subtract that number from 600, it will tell me how many that they sold. I see I have a 0 in my ones and my tens. So that means I have to go all the way over to the hundreds. So I go over to the 6. My 6 becomes a 5. Now this 0 in the tens place, I'm going to take that 10 and put it with the 0 and gives me 10. Now I can take a 10 away. My 10 becomes a 9. And then this 0 becomes a 10. Now I can subtract. 10 minus 9 gives me 1. 9 minus 5 gives me 4. And 5 minus 3 equals 2. So we have 241 guitars. Okay. All right, let's try one more together here, and then you'll do some subtraction practice. All right, so let's take a look at number 4. George is on a basketball team. He scores 181 points one year. He scores some points in a second year. He scores a total of 400 points over the 2 years. How many points does he score the second year? All right. So he scored some points one year. He scored some the next year. And he had a total of 400 points. Okay. We want to know how many he scored that second year. We don't know that. We know how many he scored the first year, but not the second. Okay. But we know he scored a total of 400 points. Now I'm going to take away the points he scored the first year, which was 181. All right. And that will tell me how many points he had scored the second year. So we have nothing in the ones and the tens. We got 0, so I got to go all the way over to the 4. So the 4 becomes a 3. Okay, now this 0 becomes a 10. I take a 10 here and give it to the 0. Now I can take a 10 away, and that 10 becomes a 9. And bring the 10 over and put it with this 0, and it makes a 10. So now 10 minus 1. If I have 10, take 1 away, that leaves me with 9. 9 minus 8 gives me 1. And 3 minus 1 equals 2. So he scored 219 points in that second year. It's a lot of points, isn't it? Okay. Now, what I would like you to do is we are going to turn to the next page, and we're going to do some more practice. We're going to do a couple together here because we're going to be subtracting from 1,000. Sorry, something on the screen. From 1,000 on the next page. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and then you can do some by yourself. Okay? So let's take a look at that problem, number 5, at the top of page 340. We've got 1,000 minus 772. Okay. You'll notice in the number 1,000, we have 3 zeros, and they're all on the top. Just like the other problems that we did, remember when we have 0 ones and 0 tens, we have to go all the way to the hundreds to get more. Well, I have 0 ones, tens, and hundreds. So I'm going to have to go all the way to the thousands and take away from it. We're going to ungroup. All right. So I'm going to go all the way to the thousands. And my 1 becomes a 0. Now I'm going to take that 1,000 and I'm going to turn it, it's going to be traded for hundreds. So I'm trading it for 10 hundreds. And I'm going to put the 10 hundreds with the 0 that I already have. And so now this 0 becomes a 10. So now I have some hundreds. Now I'm going to take 100 away from that, and this 10 becomes a 9. All right? Now I'm going to trade that 100 for 10 tens and put it with the 0 that I have, which will give me 10. So now I have 10 tens. Now I take a 10 away, and that's going to leave me with 9 tens. And I'm going to trade it for ones. I'm going to trade it for 10 ones and put it with this 0. So now this 0 becomes a 10. All right? So now all along the top, I have a 0, a 9, a 9, and a 10. Now I can subtract because I have more on top. 10 minus 2 gives me, what goes with 2 to make 10? 8. Okay, 9 minus 7. So if I have 9, and if I take 7 away, I take away my 5, 6, 7. That leaves me with 2. And 9 minus 7 again is 2. So my answer is 228. So for these problems, you're going to have to go all the way to the thousands. And you're going to take 1,000 away. And you're going to turn it into hundreds, 10 hundreds, put it with this 0. Then it's going to become a 9. Then you're going to take 100 and trade it for 10 tens, becomes a 9 tens, And then you're going to take that 10 and trade it for 10 ones, and you're going to have 10 ones in the ones place. Okay? So I want you to do the rest of this page just like we did this one. You're going to have to go all the way to the thousands place to get more. Okay? All right. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.